What happens when you hold a narcissistic person publicly accountable? Well, it's in line with what folks like Emerson said, that if you're going to strike the king, you better kill him. Because that's the fantasy. You will call them out, and others will see it, and the narcissistic person can no longer hide, and others will see what you are up against, and that the narcissistic person or organization may face some real consequences. For many people, it's the moment that wish would happen in the name of closure and of justice. Accountability is very, very difficult for narcissistic people. It is against their nature and their capabilities to own it, because that shatters this perception of themselves as perfect. So to admit wrong or error or something that is not ideal means that they have to publicly show themselves as not perfect, which is sort of literally intolerable for a narcissistic person. But what really happens when you attempt to hold a narcissistic person accountable? Number one, it may be a declaration of war. This may be the most bold thing you could ever do with a narcissistic person, because not only are you calling them out, you are doing it in a public way, which multiplies the shame for them about 1,000-fold. So to do something that is already quite triggering for a narcissistic person who already is quite thin-skinned, and to do it with a shame multiplier is big. And that means that whomever is viewed as the instigator of this public call for accountability is the enemy. And whomever is responsible for this public call for accountability is going to be hit with endless rage, punishment, and vindictiveness. And let me tell you, they ain't gonna let up. And this takes us to point 2. They will commit to revenge against whomever is attempting to hold them accountable. And they may be willing to sit on it for a long time until they have the pieces in position to really bring you down. For how impulsive narcissistic people are, they can actually really play a long game when it comes to revenge. They may ruminate about how you done them wrong for years, and the vindictiveness may come out in other ways in the interim. For example, they may stop speaking to you. They may share lies about you with other people. I'm going to be talking about smear campaigns next. But they will come for you. And this can take months or even years. And heaven forbid if the narcissistic person that you attempted to bring to public accountability actually loses something. For example, they lose their power or their job, but even double heaven forbid they get that job back again. I promise you, they will find a way to make you pay. And third, this of course relates to the smear campaign. The narcissistic person who has been held publicly accountable is not going down quietly. You're going down with them. And they're going to tell as many people as they can, even publicly, how bad you are. Sometimes, when people do hold the narcissistic person accountable, they find that the smear campaign that they are subjected to winds them up in as bad a position as the narcissistic person is now after being held accountable for something bad that they really did. Sadly, even when a narcissistic person is held accountable, they will still have lots of supporters and flying monkeys who are still in their thrall and may believe what is being said about you or the other person or other people trying to hold them accountable. Number 4, they will play the victim. They will claim it was all a witch hunt or a conspiracy, and may even make a big public show of how they are going to seek out help or go away for a while, or my favorite is spend time with their family. Sometimes the narcissistic person cannot slide out from the public accountability. And they will almost never really cop to it, but they will play the victim and spin the narrative that people have always been out to get them and the truth will come out. Now, sometimes a publicist or other crisis management cleanup team may try to play on the idea of humility and have the narcissistic person go into a treatment center or claim that they want to spend time with their family and make it look like the narcissistic person is going to be contrite for a while until the accountability demands quiet down. And fifth, they will bring other people down with them, something I've been hinting at all along. They are not going down alone. So the people who may have been loyal to the narcissistic person or helped them or just have been their loyal enablers and emboldeners may actually go down with the narcissistic person or in some cases instead of the narcissistic person. If you try to hold the narcissistic person accountable, the narcissistic person may take one of these loyal people who stands by them and turn them into their human shield or put the blame on them. And then there's number 6. If you try to hold them accountable, they may succumb to despair, depression, or even self-harm. This can happen especially with more vulnerable narcissistic folks. The narcissistic person who is forced to make a public apology or public acknowledgement or is called out publicly may not be able to manage the shame, and we may see them crash and collapse. They may become depressed and despairing. They may turn to drugs or alcohol. They may even engage in self-harming and dangerous behavior. This kind of public call-out, depending on the scale and the issue, may be intolerable. And at those times, real clinical intervention for the person being brought to accountability is necessary. And this rock bottom can be quite profound. Number 7, the narcissistic person, when being held accountable, may actually face real consequences. In some cases, this accountability may be quite severe, and there may be investigations, arrests, loss of assets, loss of an important relationship. They may lose their home, their business, their title, or even be arrested. This tends not to be the case. It is amazing how Teflon most narcissistic people can be, especially if you're talking about something smaller scale. The narcissistic person is called out and held publicly accountable for, parking in the wrong parking spot. But in bigger ticket issues, this can happen. But not often. And interestingly, lots of folks will say, I didn't want them to get into this much trouble. I just wanted them to be called out and take some real responsibility. Sadly, in many cases, real heavy, meaningful consequences are often the only way that happens. You may be thinking, okay, Dr. Ramani, I'm clear. All of these things or some of these things could happen, and I still intend to publicly call them out. Okay, so now a few more things to keep in mind. Number 1 is safety. Depending on the narcissistic person, if it's more severe, this could be violence or at least really scary. So if you're going to do this, make sure you have a safety plan of some kind, and not just in the short term, but for longer, depending on the situation. Number 2, have your legal ducks in line, because like I said, they are coming after you. They will try all kinds of legal angles: slander, libel, defamation. They may bring up old issues of yours. And even if they don't have a legal leg to stand on, one of the many problems with the legal system in the United States, at least, is that when someone starts doing this to you, then you have to be able to defend against it. And that means hiring an attorney, which is expensive and will cost you lots of money that you do not have. And it is also very unsettling to have to go through this. Narcissistic people are ferocious, litigious, legalistic, and are like a dog with a bone. and the most of the rest of us are not. The third thing to keep in mind is you have to have proof, or make sure you have other people willing to go on the record with you. We're back to Emerson and the King. You need evidence. And even with evidence, bringing a narcissistic person to accountability will be challenging. And there is strength in numbers. Most of the public accountability we've seen around, especially public scandals with narcissistic folks, had legs only because there was more than one person doing the call out. And the clearer the proof, photo, video, email, text, financial records, then you may be able to go farther with it in a believable way. But all the other stuff about risk and revenge, even if you have the evidence, that all applies. When you call a narcissistic person out publicly, be aware that it probably will not go down the way you think. In your life, it's not like you're going to feel like, oh, I feel so much better, this monkey's off my back. Your life's actually going to become more difficult. I don't say that so that you don't do it, but that you prepare if you're going to do it. Believe it or not, some people may think that you are the petty one for wanting to call a narcissistic person out publicly. Like, why can't you just let go of it? So that can also feel like adding insult to injury. And the dream and the hope that A, they may actually cop to it and take responsibility if they're called out publicly, or B, that they will face real, meaningful consequences, well, that's not likely to pan out. Narcissistic people are a lot more glib than the rest of us and are able to turn things around onto other people, even when there's evidence of their wrongdoing. And some of you may think, this isn't worth it. Enough of my life has been turned upside down by this relationship. I'm not sure I have the stomach to sit around and wait around vigilantly for their revenge. Listen, only you know what you can or can't endure or what you have the stomach for. I know me, I am not built for revenge waiting. I made the mistake one time with one malignant narcissist around public accountability. I endured months of some of the most terrifying stalking and legal hassles and fear for my safety. My mental health took a massive nosedive. This guy never faced a single consequence and is still living his best abusive life. After that, not only did I cut off from him, but every single person who knew him, and I never engaged with that entire group again, which was a big part of my social support network, so I lost that too. And I know others who go in deep and take the hits because they feel that they couldn't live with themselves otherwise, unless they brought this person to accountability. You can only do what you can tolerate. You just need to know the risks and know yourself, and know, I can guarantee you that this process will not be fair, and most likely the narcissistic person will not face consequences. And then you need to proceed with caution, because folks, no matter how much hurt that has happened here, in many cases, narcissistic behavior, while harmful and hurtful and devastating, it ain't against the law. Thanks again.